All right, here we go again. They're still having us back. Can you believe it? So, episode 4. Unfortunately, one of our members who just joined last week is AOL, or AWOL, sorry, not AOL, that would be America Online. Not sure what's going on. Hope everything's okay, Brother Steve, but if you jump in when you can, we're here for the next 30 minutes or so, so hope to see you. All right, we got a big show coming up this week. Lots of things to talk about. So just to kind of give you a rundown on the things we're going to hit on, we got Hard Knocks episode 4, which dropped on Tuesday. New York Giants top 100. We are now getting almost to the midway point, so 70 to 61. Plenty to say there. Now we got camp. Camp started, so we're really starting to get rolling here. So we'll get a little commentary on camp, and then we will end with a little bit of story time. So, all right, welcome, Lucas, my son, Andrew, my nephew. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Hanging in there.
All right, hanging in there. Well, I don't know. Andrew, give me some of your early observations with the beginning of the Hard Knocks when they were kind of starting the whole process, preparing for the draft.
It's just crazy how they're flying. The way they showed all the locations they went to visit these pro days and stuff, the amount of mileage they're putting on going across the country is insane.
Yeah.
Um, and the amount of time and the scouts. You don't think of how much work goes into the off season, but being a scout is definitely a an interesting task. So I salute the scouts out there going
Yeah,
all over the country looking for folks. So
absolutely. Although, it's a hard life flying around in a private jet, like J-Ball and
yeah,
Shane are doing.
yeah.
Although, so I'm going to show my age. Today's Eli, captain, Super Bowl 46 jersey. So they played a song to start when they were traveling around called "Moving Right Along," and unless you kind of caught it, it's from the original Muppet movie in 1979. And I'm going to give you a little pathetic story about me. So at the ripe age of 12, one of the first albums I ever got was an 8-track tape. And if you don't know what an 8-track is, look it up, of that movie's soundtrack. And to make it worse, I would sit in my room and listen to that and try to sing all the songs in all the different Muppet voices. So there you
In
go.
this instance, it was Kermit. In
There
this
you go.
instance,
It was Kermit and Fozzie. And so,
yeah.
trivia question, the guy, or little fun fact, the guy who does the voice for Fozzie Bear is a guy named Frank Oz. Same voice as Yoda. So there you go. Same guy who
That's
did
dope.
Yoda.
That's dope.
If you didn't know that. But the funny thing was they bracketed the music with who was the last artist they were playing. Do you remember when they were at the draft? Come on, it was in Detroit.
It's Eminem. It's Eminem.
Eminem,
Eminem,
yeah,
The
right.
polar
yeah,
opposite of what.
That's right. So we went from the Muppets to Eminem. So this would be my generation to your generation. And just
yeah.
a fun fact, Lucas, where did you see Eminem?
In New York, in
In
MetLife, with
MetLife,
Rihanna.
right? So it all comes full circle. So yeah, what observations did you catch there when they were out there running around, Lucas?
Yeah, like Drew said, it's crazy the amount of travel that they do. You never really appreciate. You always feel like, oh, like so and so's going to this pro day and so and so's going to this pro day, but then you realize, oh wait, this is in like a 3 week span that like you're probably just every day, and sometimes probably twice in the same day. Like you probably try a morning one, you get up, they're doing an afternoon one over here in a different time zone, so you're hitting two in the same day. You got to choose who's going to where. Like, oh, we want this. Like Shane needs to see this guy with Brian. Like all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
it's interesting.
What was the one stop though they chose to show that focused on first?
Oh, the LSU.
No, before that.
Oh,
They went to Notre Dame.
they went to Notre Dame.
No, go back.
They went
Go up the road from
to
where we used to live.
Oh yeah, they were at Penn State. They
That's
were
oh,
right.
it
talking.
was
Yeah,
And
and
who was
the
there?
scout the scout was talking about Saquon.
Saquon.
Yeah,
Saquon
yeah,
was
so,
there.
Saquon.
Not only were they talking
yeah,
about him,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
there, right?
He was there
So
with talking with Priscilla. Yeah, he was
yeah.
talking
And
about
what did he
the
have to say
line.
about him?
Yeah, he was a good guy, and like he
Yeah.
was cool. Like it was good. He cares. Like I've never doubt that he didn't care. Like I don't
Yeah,
spend a lot of his life here. Like it's nothing like that.
yeah. I thought Saquon again showed Saquon class. talking to an O-line coach, even giving feedback about some of the guys, right? That they picked up, Runyon and how do you say that kid's name from the Raiders?
Illuminor.
Illuminor. Thank you. I have to think of Illuminati.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There we go. There we go. And then, I thought it was interesting when they brought the receivers in. Again, putting them through their paces. Now, Drew, you were talking a little bit about it. Give us your kind of thoughts on them in the room.
It was interesting to see them throwing them right into the fire, saying like, "Hey, we know you guys know your route trees and whatnot, but here's a situation. What's the call at the line? If something audibles, what do you see from this and whatnot?" So kind of putting them through their paces like they were doing with the quarterbacks at the combine. So that was cool to see. But you could definitely tell Marvin Harrison knew he wasn't going to be around long enough to be, for the Giants to select. So he was kind of like laid back, chilling. But you could definitely tell, like, and Dunze and Neighbors knew that they would kind of be in that threshold. So they were kind of more in tune. But, it was definitely, like I said, before we had started the show, you think of them going to, all these teams to visit. You think it's more kind of one-on-one, but no, it's kind of like classroom style. Yeah. Let's go in here and chat it up kind of deal. So it was pretty cool to see that side
kind of a
things.
Group job interview. Well, Lucas, what do you think about some of the stuff about Daniels?
I thought it was interesting that they said they would also trade up for him. Like, it was either May or Daniels. It wasn't just like, we just want May, because that was kind of what was being put out there. So maybe that was like their sneaky, like, hey, if we don't say anything and he's at 3, do we offer everything and go get him?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I thought it was a little telling, I guess, about where Daboll is with Daniel, where it's funny, Daniel and Daniels, but where he is with DJ Jones, where they basically said, if you trade up to get Daniels, would you do it? And he's like, yeah, in a heartbeat. Yeah. Like, okay, well... So,
they showed that demographic too. They kind of, I like how they did that with all the quarterbacks drafted first round. Let's break them down. And it was like, and you saw all the red and the blue was the only successful ones. They're like, this list is kind of short. Do we want to, and they even named Daniel Jones in that. So,
there he is.
We got an appearance.
The big man's joining. Camera's coming on. I like this on the fly stuff. How are you? We got Vader in the house.
Hello.
Yeah, Vader too.
Nice of you to join. So we're just breaking down them talking about where Daboll was interested in trading up for Daniels. I kind of thought that was interesting. It's telling about his confidence in DJ. Yeah. I'll just say that. So
yeah, I saw that too. One of the things that caught me is I felt like on 2 different opportunities he made a point to say that he inherited Jones.
Yeah.
Like, the next thing was before I got here, and then, like he said it on twice. He's like, I kind of inherited this guy. If we can, get him a weapon, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Chief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and we were breaking down too, and I think the stat was 5. I was shocked at this. 5 of the 8 first rounders, and only the last 3 years are on different teams already.
Well,
and
I had some questions about that too. When they were showing the list of the quarterbacks over like the last decade, they had said blue or red. But they didn't establish what that meant. Like, did they consider them successful?
I think it's the panning out that was the
thing. I couldn't tell if it was based off of success or whether or not they were still with their original team.
That's true.
Because they had Daniel Jones as a blue, and it's obvious that they were at least iffy on him to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to give Daniel at least some success because he did make the playoffs a year and he's still with the same team. But you're right. It wasn't exactly clear what was their success criteria. Right.
Right.
I definitely.
Like if it's just original team.
One was definitely being on the team for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, they even broke down with the successful ones even how many coaches they've had, right?
Right.
A couple have had just one, where others have had 2 or 3 already, but they're still with the team. So yeah, but I like when they segued. I love when they gave a chance to have a little Eli story, right? So, And I love what Ernie Accorsi said. It's okay to give up a lot as long as you're right.
As long as you're right.
Well, and I actually thought that was interesting because Mara said the same thing. He's like, I've got the feeling like, if you really have confidence, do what we did 20 years ago. Like, if you're right and it's worth it, do it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Shane kind of had an open pass to do whatever he felt was best, but he didn't have the confidence in any of the guys to actually pull the trigger.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Lucas.
I don't think, like, from what I've read and heard, and from, I don't know, because I'm an NFL junkie and I just listen to
please, that's why you're on the show.
That's why we need you.
Zero way the Patriots were trading out because the Crafts wanted May. There was zero, like, what you hear is the coach and the GM were cool with moving back and taking McCarthy.
Right.
And the Crafts said, no, we're staying here and we're drafting whichever one is there.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, are we going to offer 3 first-round picks and like a second-round pick? Like, is that with the level? And it's like, okay. And then I guess you have the Ram strategy where it's like, well, screw them picks. Like, who cares? If it fails, I'm not going to be here to clean up the mess.
That's
so,
true.
You also have that strategy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, I and it's interesting because it shows you the insight into both of those organizations and how heavy-handed one ownership is versus the other, right? And I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong, but it's definitely two very different styles. Yeah, but just a quick thing on the Ernie thing, and I'm pretty sure you younger guys know this story, but part of that Eli thing was very redemptive for him because he was a Colts GM back when they had the whole John Elway thing, which was basically a very similar situation to Eli, where the Colts wanted to take him. He didn't want to go to Baltimore, just like Eli didn't want to go to San Diego. But the problem there was the owner screwed Accorsi and basically traded Elway behind his back. And he kind of he was like done with the Ursays at that point. And so it was a big redemptive thing for him to get the backing. He did when he got Eli. So anyway. Yeah, and I get Mara though. He's funny. He is a ball of anxiety, that guy.
Yeah, he's on edge at all times. It looks like he walks on the tippy toes.
Yeah.
I was like, every time he walks in the room, he's got this look like, oh, what bad news do you have for me today?
Yeah, and it's not a surprise he's that thin because I think he's just not eating much and wringing his hands a lot. So
the stress diet.
Anyway. Yeah, anybody with observations on all the phone calls Shane was making? It was kind of interesting to watch him do that within a few hours of the draft, right?
Hey, you gotta go fishing sometimes. You never know what you'll catch.
Yeah, I mean, he basically set himself up to have an option at pretty much every pick through 10.
Yeah,
depending on what he
heard.
That was pretty impressive that he had everything lined up if it went any way, and it actually fell exactly. I mean, if you look at the way they had the draft, it went exactly as they said it would.
Yeah.
Penix was the only thing that threw everything off.
Yeah. And that was the only us anyway. So
that was the only curveball. Outside of that, everything kind of stuck. So.
Yeah, it didn't really matter once we got past us. But you're right, and it was good to see how into Neighbors they were, right? Because it just feels more validating with the pick, right? You'd hate if they were talking about somebody else so diligently and like, oh, we got to settle for Neighbors, right? So
well, I feel like though Dunze really liked it.
They did.
So I feel like they did. It was if Neighbors did get drafted earlier than they thought, I think they would have been fine with the Dunze as well.
Yeah,
I think it was like Neighbors is the higher ceiling. It's like there's nothing wrong with their Dunze. They just think Neighbors can be that guy.
Yeah, and go ahead, Steve. Yeah,
I was gonna say they basically said, if it's Neighbors or Marvin, just turn the card in. Like there's no conversation. If we get either one of those two, just turn the card in and move on to the next round.
Yeah, well, and it was good to see Neighbors because I didn't study him much at LSU, even though I watch a lot of SEC football. How thick he is, lower half. I kind of was a concern he was a little bit like a Devontae Smith or something, but no, he's a bull. Yeah, he's got some lower half power, so he's gonna be good.
I did think it was interesting when the wide receivers coach had all three of them in the same room asking questions.
Yeah.
It's like I can't imagine any of them being honest, really.
True. Well, and I did think and then going back just a little bit, when he asked Daniels, "Do you want to be here?" First of all, what's he gonna say?
Heck no.
Second of all,
No.
and maybe he's just really low key, but he could not have given a less enthusiastic, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't bowled over, but anyway.
It ends up on a divisional rival, no biggie.
That's right. That's right. No.
We get to meet him twice a year. Again, they're cursed. It doesn't matter.
A divisional rival has been a black hole for every quarterback since
I feel
LT
bad for
broke
him.
Joe Theismann's leg. I don't know. So
I feel bad for him. I hope he has a good year. But
they took him and Sam Hartman, so I feel bad for both of those guys.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the next RG3 and Kirk Cousins scenario?
But Hartman does have the best hair, so like
he does.
He does.
He is an
incredible
He's
player.
the man. So I thought there was a pretty funny observation though when they were just getting into the draft. They're all dressed up, and little Hannah, right? It's so classic. No matter the situation that you're in, the girl is always going to have to approve the picture. So like they take that one picture. She looks at nope. Everybody need you back. So it's a good thing they have Hannah there to take care of them because, and she's been impressive. Like I didn't know anything about her, but she obviously is into her job, takes it very seriously, and very humble by it. So she's representing herself well. So anyway. Any other, there was something with Dayball. Who did, Lucas, who did he reach out to about Neighbors?
Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Saban.
What did Saban have to say?
He said he was an effing problem.
So.
And that's coming from Saban. That's coming from Saban. So
there is a ring endorsement.
Good vote of confidence on that one.
So. All right, I think we've chewed up the episode. Although, look, Steve, you missed, and you'll have to go back and watch. I did talk about the Muppet movie and Eminem to start because that was too funny. So
you got it on 8-track in 1978, and I knew all the lyrics to that song.
There you go.
He gave the story, so you're just confirming it now.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
I was singing along to it. My wife was watching. Leah's watching, and I'm singing along. She goes, "How do you know the words to a song from the Muppet movie in 1977?"
It was worse. I was singing wrong as Kermit and Fozzie. So there you go. There you go. So waka waka. All right. So let's go to the top 100. So 70 to 61. I mean, we'll focus on the guys that were from our era. So 69, Brandon Jacobs. What did Lucas? You had something to say about that earlier, please.
It's a shame that he's this low. He's this high on the list, I should say, not this low. He should be lower. You're the all-time leading touchdown getter. You should be in the top 40. If they put him in 40, that's fine. Okay. 69, a little high.
Well, and as someone in different eras, so my default for Giants running back, or at least my standard bearer, would be Joe Morris because he's the one I watched growing up when I was younger.
Right.
And I haven't seen him yet, and I'm curious to see how much higher he would be than Brandon. Not that he deserves to be, but I'm just curious in regards to sort of mystique about them because Joe Morris was the 80s Giants when they won their first one and blah, blah, blah. So is that going to artificially rank him higher? And same thing with Rodney Hampton.
Yeah.
And you got Otis too.
Yeah. I think Otis is the most
Super Bowl MVP.
He's the most interesting because statistically he didn't do a whole lot, but he did play such a vital role in a Super Bowl. So it's kind of hard to deny him that. Where you could say Brandon, it was to me, if you could have put two guys together and ranked them, take Ahmad and Brandon and put them at about 25, right? So because together they were probably our best, in my opinion, in my lifetime, best kind of tandem because they were when they were both healthy. And Brandon, to me, again, is a little bit of a disappointing career because of injuries. Because again, he could have put up much bigger numbers if he was available more. But loved watching that guy play. My favorite Brandon moment though was not in a game. It was after a game. So Christmas, New York Jets, right? Remember this?
Yep.
They asked him. They were interviewing him after the game, and at that point, he and Rex Ryan were not having the best relationship, and he basically said on national television at a Christmas time, "Rex Ryan is a disrespectful bastard." And Alex, our son, who was 12 at the time, fell on the floor laughing at that. So that's why I will never forget it. Yep, my favorite Brandon story. All right, let's go to some of the other guys. Jim Burt, I think he's an interesting character because he played a vital role in both Super Bowls, but in very different ways. So 86, you guys all know, and I'll talk. This is going to be my story at the end, talking about that 49ers game. That's the story I'll tell. But we all know about his hit on Montana. But he's also known for going to the 49ers and in 1990 with a dirty hit on Hostetler that we all thought knocked him out of the game. And if you've ever seen the America's game, Carl Banks talks about this, and he said, it pissed the D off. He said, we're going after Joe. so
he's like, gloves are off now.
That's right. Yeah. Well, did you have any memories of Burt, especially since you were at the championship game?
Oh, I was. The only thing I remember about Burt is that he would have his jersey tied on specially, so offensive linemen couldn't grab it. If you look at the old videos, he has it sewn down the sides to make it extra tight, so offensive linemen couldn't grab him. That's my I guess fondest memory of Burt.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was pissed when he went to the Niners.
Yeah, so was I. But like I said, he ended up helping us anyway, right? He inspired his old defensive buddies to go after Joe Montana. The funny thing is, in both those stories, Joe Montana almost dies both times.
Yes.
The sound bite from the hit was just oof. It was brutal.
Sure.
The air went out of not only Montana but the stadium.
Yeah. I'll give a couple other comments about some of the older guys that I knew, and then we'll turn it to you guys to talk about JPP since you've got the JPP jersey on. But I mean, Brian Kelly, I completely forgot about him. Another great linebacker. I mean, right again in that era leading up into LT. So I completely forgot about him. Keith Hamilton, late in his career, early in Strahan's, they were dominant stopping the run. So I was glad to see Hamilton make it. So yeah, those two guys were great. But you younger guys, give us some perspective on JPP and O'Hara.
Well, JPP was just a game wrecker because after Strahan and OC kind of era, and Justin Tuck starting to phase out a little bit, we're like, all right, who's that next game wrecker, pass rusher? And JPP stepped right in, and like they talked about. And even Brandon said that he's probably one of the most athletic guys he's ever played with, and he was a defensive end. So he said he was doing flips and stuff in practice and whatnot. But just my fondest memory, and they brought it up too, was that block field goal against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and just seeing at first, when kicks get blocked, it takes a replay or two to see who gets. This was like live in game. You saw like this huge claw come out, and you knew it was him right away. So, but I give him respect too after the whole fireworks incident and whatnot. For him to even come back out, and he was still putting up enough numbers to where even a contract was in the talks. Yeah. So I give him. It was a dumb thing that happened. People make mistakes, but just imagine if that didn't happen to him. He could have been a max contract kind of guy for us. So and still, still active like we talked about before the show. So he's still around, which is still crazy to think you can make the top 100 list and still be around. So
yeah, that's a gifted athlete. Anything to add to that there, pal?
No, I mean, he covered it really well. Well, yeah, like, I remember when we drafted him, like, ESPN was showing, like, the video of him doing, like, 30 backflips in a row or something ridiculous like that, and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, that was definitely all about an athlete. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I remember, Frank, you sending me that video, said, this is the defensive end the Giants just drafted. And I see this guy going like this all the way down the field. I was like, that's a defensive end? Holy crap. Okay, that works.
So in my mind, I look at, and I'm going to even use the firework incident as the moment it ended. But when I think about the pass rushing legacy that started with LT, to me it ended with JPP. Like if you follow that lineage, right, during 100%. That time, we had LT, then it went into Strahan, then it went to OC, then it went into Tuck, then it went into, like, it just was an amazing run. And so I did some looking, and I'm gonna throw JPP's 2017, which was his last season, into this stat, but since 17, do you know what our record is since 2017?
I can go like win percentage wise. We're definitely below 500.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go. I think we're the worst with the Jets, aren't we? Aren't we the last?
Oh yeah,
two?
yeah. We're the worst in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's us, the Jets.
61, 101, and 1, but that's 10 years. It's worse from 17. So from 17 forward, we're 36 and 77.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I didn't look up during that era, but I have no doubt it's over 500. And, you know, there's 4 Super Bowls in that era, 5 Super Bowls played, 4 won. So, yeah, that was kind of humbling to me. A couple interesting things I learned about some of the older guys, like that guy Hubbard is in 2 Hall of Fames. He's in the NFL Hall of Fame and the Baseball Hall of Fame as a umpire. That's crazy.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy. And then the guy Banger, and this shows you about two-way players. In the 30s, he led the team in INTs and receptions.
Hey, that throws the whole mantra that DBs can't catch out of the window.
Guy was just a pass.
Somewhere Travis Hunter.
Yep. All right. Anybody else have anything to add on the top 100?
No.
All right. Let's get a little camp thing. I haven't been paying much attention, so I'm going to turn it over to the younger guys. What have you seen so far?
I'll let you go first, Lucas.
Neighbors looks awesome. First day looked a little like everyone was knocking some rust off, yada yada yada. But all in all, I mean, it's camp. People, they're trying stuff, like, so that's why I don't take grain of salt when you see like Daniel like completely like throwing like a little screen pass to Singletary. It's like I don't care. Like, you know, the internet blows up about it. So, but the neighbors had some nice catches today. Hyatt had a nice deep catch. Wandale's had some nice looking catches. Yeah. So the receivers look cool. Like, we'll see what happens, but we might at least be fun to watch. We might be bad, but fun.
Yeah.
I think the defenses they were more competitive today, but you know, you get a new scheme, new D coordinator, it takes a little bit longer to pick up a defense. So I think they'll come along as camp goes. But I love the competition so far. You know, iron sharpen iron. When you see Neighbors and Banks going, you know, toe to toe in practice, I think that's gonna, you know, only help us. So, you know, we were talking about it in text with all of our tight end issues right now. Lawrence Cager's been playing really good so far in camp. So I hope he's one of my good friends and best friends. That's his cousin. So I'm rooting for him. I hope he gets a lot of play time. He's on he's getting a lot of first team reps right now. So, you know, I'm hoping the best for him. But got a thumbs up from Illuminor, so looks like he's okay. He took a sledgehammer hit from Beck's nice little, you know, a gut shot. It looked like, which is understandable. They were looked like they were barely shells, which is in football terms is, you know, helmet and like a little small protective shoulder pad kind of deal. No pants, nothing like that. So when you got, you know, Dexter Lawrence giving you a gut shot, you know, I think it would hurt any of us. So we might be in the hospital in that one. But
I might be dead.
So he gave everybody the thumbs up on Twitter. So, you know, it sounds like he's going to be all right. But some more interesting news came out is that Evan Neal is actually in better shape than we thought.
Okay.
So they're saying that he could be back. So the biggest question is right now is whenever either of those are healthy, who's going to be the right tackle? So just, you know, some question marks out there.
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. For us, the Giants, just if we have healthy offensive linemen, that's what matters. But it definitely will be interesting to see what the starting lineup will be lineman-wise when the first game rolls around. So.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and you're talking about Dex hitting, you know, in that hit and reminded me of a story I heard about Haas again. So I think it was his rookie year, but you know, I think they were in camp, and he steps into QB and Parcells announces, all right, because they used to do this back then, quarterbacks live.
Yeah.
And LT looks at him and goes, live? He goes, yeah. Quarterback's live.
Okay. dinner.
So it
All
says,
right, cool.
I took 3 steps in my drop. Next thing I know, right in the middle of my back, I'm just laid out by LT. Helmet's like, looking out the ear hole. He goes, I looked over to our Purcells, and he's like trying to hide the laugh. So, he's live? Yeah, he's live. Okay, here we go. So anyway, all right. Well, I mean, that kind of wraps up the camp part of it. So I'm going to share a little story here from the 49ers playoff game. All right. And we'll get to eventually, Steve, you can tell the championship game story at some point for sure, because that's a great one too. The weirdest part about those 2 stories is why we weren't at both games together. I'll still never know. We had,
I think that was still in the throes of making sure his friends got to go to games.
Yeah, I think it's even a little bit deeper, right? He wanted to reward those that stuck with him through those lean times. So I get it.
Nice
but
Italian
damn it,
man,
I didn't get to go to the championship game. So I was a sophomore in college, home for Christmas break when the 49ers game was going to happen. This is the 49-3 game that happened in January of '87. Again, reminder for those that don't know, our seats in that old stadium were 3 rows off the field, kind of the corner of the end zone. It was the end zone where the players came out, and so very, very close to the field. And but the story is more about the journey there. So I was actually dating a girl in Sayville, Long Island, there, Paco. So not too far from where you live now in Patchogue.
20 minutes.
Yep. And so I did the Long Island Railroad in. So Uncle Pete drove up to our grandmother's in Union City. I spent the day traveling in from my girlfriend's Long Island Railroad to Penn Station. Get to Penn Station, and this is in the days where I've got a ratty old suitcase I'm walking with, and I had to make the walk from Penn Station to the Port Authority bus depot. I don't know if you've ever made that walk, Andrew. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I stay away from that.
If I may interject,
Please.
In the 80s, New York City was vastly different.
Very bad man.
Times Square was about 70% porn
Yes.
or prostitutes.
Yes.
And that's not an exaggeration.
No.
Me and Grandpa walked it one time going to the theater district in our suits, and we were like shaking the whole way, fear that we were going to get bumped off in an alley.
So now, and thank you, perfect setup. Picture a 6'1", 150-pound, striking young man with a suitcase walking that route by himself. So I was afraid I was going to be grabbed and sold into sex slavery. Luckily, I made it to the bus depot, and then having never taken the bus from that point of origin before, like you have to find out. This is back then. I don't know if it's the same now. There's all kinds of little alcoves for all the different buses going everywhere. So you have to kind of find your spot, and you go down there, and then, like in my case, I was there by myself again in this remote area with no one around. I'm going to die. Like, I don't think I'm not going to make it out of here. Well, luckily I did. The bus used to stop at the post office in Union City, and then I walked to my grandmother's. And so that night, slept at her place. It was Grandma and Uncle George in this little apartment on 16th Street, I believe was the street. They each had their bedrooms, and Uncle Pete and I are sleeping together on a pull-out sofa bed together, right? So 2 grown men sleeping next to each other. And
circa 1938, that thing was older than dirt.
My gosh, yes. And I mean, it was, like
the first of its kind.
Talk about, yeah. I mean, a mattress is this thin, a couple poles in the back, right?
Oh yeah.
And your Uncle Pete, you'll be shocked, a bit of a snorer. So it was always this race to try to get to sleep before him. Never happened. And I wish I had an iPhone back then to record him, because it's kind of indescribable, the sound. Like, it was as if he was screaming. Like, I don't know how he didn't wake himself up. It was this, it was unbelievable. So yeah, didn't sleep that whole night, but went to the game the next day. And the game was what it was, but that Burt hit happened in our end zone. So you talk about the sound in the video, try the sound live, because Montana was probably about 40 yards from me when he got hit. And Pete always loves
And
it.
he landed 20 yards from you.
Yeah, exactly. And then LT scored in the opposite. He was in the opposite end zone in the quarter, but he scored the touchdown. But Pete always likes to say how I said, I think he just killed Joe. So, but the other play that set that game up early was Jerry Rice caught a slant and was gone. I mean, gone. I don't know if you've ever seen this part of it early in the game. And he's running and he gets about the 30 and knocks the ball out of his own hands off his thigh. Freaking Jerry Rice, the greatest, arguably, player of all time.
He had an interesting stride, so I could see it.
And he
was a good 5 yards ahead of the defense.
Yeah, it was a touchdown.
He was wide open.
He's running right at us, and he bangs it off his own thigh. So we kind of knew with those two things that game was going to be a party, and it was, a 7-touchdown fest. So, but it's always interesting to share the journey, because the journey is what it's about going to Giants game, especially when you live more than 3 hours away. So we have plenty of journey stories we'll be sharing.
And I take that journey now as well, just not hopping on any buses. Sketchy part of that.
And yours may still take 3 hours sometimes, right? Even though it's
I leave for a 1:00 game. I'm leaving the house anywhere from 7:30, 8 o'clock. Get to the Long Island Railroad, get into Penn Station. I go to Secaucus, then MetLife. So it's a trip, and then it's a long day, but it's worth it.
All right. Well, that's how we wrap up this episode. Anybody have any last things to add or say?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Well, hope you guys enjoyed it out there in the world, and we'll catch you next time.
See you.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.